Hello, thank you for joining me. My name is Will, and today we're going to have a really quick look at Games Workshop dice. So with the new Sisters of Battle coming out next week, we've got inevitably a set of themed dice to go with them. Although weirdly they've got Sigmarine heads on, but whatever. Dice, in a nutshell, should be easy to read at a glance, both by you and your opponent. And counting little fleur-de-lis on a set of dice, you might get used to it, but your opponent has to be able to do that at a glance as well. And I just don't think it's an easily understood pattern. Symbol for the 6, at least there's a single fleur-de-lis for the 1. That's alright, but undistinctive patterns like this just shouldn't be allowed. They should just be avoided. It's too confusing. Especially in a tournament situation, you don't want to be having a close look at every single dice roll to see if they've picked up the correct ones or you've understood what they're rolling, or they just shouldn't be allowed. And Games Workshop has quite a few missteps, if you ask me. Here's just a sample of them. So these are the I forgot the name of them now. Squig themed dice for the recent Gloomspire Gits, was it? From Age of Sigmar? Where do you start with this? The red is unappealing. The yellow dots are supposed to be eyes, I think. There's no pupils in them, but I think they're supposed to be eyes. And then you've got 6 teeth for the 6 on the dice. That's just... It's not a nice design, to be honest. It's not nice to look at. I can only imagine that's just going to be confusing with all the random yellow dots. They're not in any recognisable pattern. They're just dots. That's just a terrible design. I pity anybody that bought those dice. And not much better than these. We've got these Death Guard dice as well. I get the aesthetic. Great. Very nice. Well done. But you imagine you've got a 20-man unit of Plague Marines and you roll 40 rapid-fire bolter dice. Not that you'd ever do that, but you've got to then quickly pick out all the 6s, all the 3+s, whatever you're hitting on. And I just don't think they're easy to read. Novelty dice just shouldn't be allowed in a competitive environment. If you're playing with points and you're playing a sensible game, whether it's a tournament or not, I don't think you should be allowed these kind of dice. Because it's just inviting confusion, it's slowing the game down. The game's getting slow enough anyway. Yeah, dice need to be clear and easily understood. Here's another bad example. This one's even worse in my opinion, the Disciples of Zinch dice. Double symbol. That's just an automatic no for me. You should never be allowed that, and I'd be annoyed if my opponent played with that. Because which ones are 6s, which ones are 1s? I've then got to remember what your dice are doing. The rest of the pips are easily read, I guess. It's a bit busy on this one. But yeah, double symbol's just a big no-no. So confusing, and there's never a definitive answer. Doesn't even matter if your opponent says, "Oh, these skulls are 1s and these are 6s." You've then got to remember that. Why should I remember my opponent's way of doing things? Because what if my next opponent, say I'm playing in a tournament, what if my next opponent has exactly the same set of dice and plays them the other way around? How confusing is that? They just shouldn't be allowed, in my opinion. Here's another example from Games Workshop. Double symbol, Ultramarines, and your medical eagle, whatever you want to call that. And not only that, you've got Roman numerals instead of pips. So you've got to read that. Again, you might get used to them, great, but your opponent has to be able to understand them at a glance, having had no experience with them. So, yeah, fail. Next one, Thousand Suns. Colours are fine, but double symbol, so it's a fail. Which one's a 6, which one's a 1? You'd have to explain that to every person you play against. Just get out. Dark Angels dice. These dice are very nice. They're very sort of neutral colours. The swords instead of pips is a nice, simple design aesthetic. You can easily read it, but unfortunately, ruined by double symbol again. Is it a 1? Is it a 6? Is the sword a 1? What logic are you applying to this? Fail. Wrong. Get out. These are slightly better. I mean, 8 dice for £10. I'll leave that there. Colours aren't to my liking, but a symbol on the 6, you've got pips for everything else. Great. Well done. Easily understood. No ambiguity. That's how they should all be. Same for the Imperial Navy set for Aeronautica Imperialis. Pips on all the numbers, symbol on the 6. Job done. It should be like that for everything. One symbol, and it's easy. Here's the Games Workshop simple brick of dice. A little box of dice. They've got skulls on the 1s, pips for everything else. You can see 6s here, so these are meant to be 1s. You know, great. Couldn't be simpler. Fine. That's how they should all be. None of this double symbol is the worst bit. Double symbol, you know, weird design aesthetics. You know, make a set of wound counters, health counters, or, you know, funky dice for whatever particular game you're playing. Absolutely fine. But for regular dice, you need a bucket of simple dice like this. Easily understood by everybody. And that's the way it should be. So, let us know what you think. I mean, do you like these new Sisters of Battle ones? Do you think they're absolutely fine? Would you struggle to understand these at a glance? You know, if your opponent has, I don't know, however many squads and they roll them all at the same target and he rolls a bucket of dice at once, could you read all these quickly? Could you pick out the 6s quickly? I don't like them. Keep it simple, Games Workshop. Please. 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 Thank you for listening to this little rant, and I'll see you next time.